There's one thing I can't stand. It's fakeness. I can't stand it. Now, call it being old, you know, but even in my younger, more primitive years, if you want to call it that, I never liked fake people. Never. Because there's always something about it that always made you just, you know, turn your turn your nose up and away at them because they didn't represent not just themselves, but they didn't represent anybody in decent modern society that would be even remotely worthy of you know having someone's attention. Why should they? There are plenty of you know people out there that are genuine, sincere. Now, there doesn't mean that they're anything in the way of perfection, because they're certainly not. They're not in any way being regarded as somebody of perfection. And here's the funny thing: you don't have to be perfect in life. Now I know, we've been we've been told over and over that you know if you want to get things in life, well, you have to walk and you have to talk, and you know you can't deviate from the path, because you'll never get anything that way. You'll never ever get anything you know from the path that I'm walking, right? But yeah, you know, no, you may not be getting certain specific things that somebody else may be getting, but you're also not getting the problems that other people are encountering. Prime example: take the factors of dating, right? There's a certain set list rules that you have to abide by. So you have to have a car by 16 and your license. You have to graduate college. And I know I skipped a year and forgot about high school, but no, you have to graduate high school. You have to graduate college. And then you have to go out and you have to have a good working job that you go to every single solitary day. And that's just only part of the things that you have to have before you can even get into the doorway of, you know, anything else. Now, you have to be smart, you have to be good looking, you have to have your own bank account, you have to have your own car, you have to have your own apartment. And once you've acquired all these magical keys that everybody keeps shoving in your face and keeps saying, you have to have it, you have to have it, you have to have it. And all of a sudden, doors start unlocking left and right. You'll start seeing doors open one by one by one. They'll all open up. But what do you not see behind the scenes? Ah, now there's a question that people don't like to ask, and they'll tell you very nicely that it doesn't matter what we don't see behind the scenes because it's what you see right in front of your face, right? Oh, look at these two. Oh, look at these two. Oh, they're a happy couple. Oh, isn't that so sweet and precious? See, on the outside, it all looks good. And that's what it's designed to be. It's designed to be a facade. Inside, there's all kinds of turmoil. There's constant fighting, you know, there's infidelity, you know, screaming matches, things that you would consider destructive in nature. But then you turn around and you say, oh, but you know, they love each other. Okay. Well, maybe at one point in time, maybe they thought it was love. Maybe they thought they were in love. And everything looked real fine and dandy, real good on the outside. But inside, it was all crumbling apart. And one didn't know how to get out of it. They were plotting. Oh, they were plotting that one way or the other they were going to get out of this relationship because they were quote unquote no longer happy. And so they finally one day just said, you know what? I've had enough. I'm done. We have to break up. We have to break apart. We can't do this anymore. It's not working. Now, I want you to keep in mind that, people who generally tend to say that are also the very same people who I would say are the ones that aren't even, well, they're not even trying. But we'll get into that another day and another time. But for now, we know they're not trying. They're not making any conscious effort. You see, it's what they thought they wanted until they realized that you really want no piece of this. But then they turn around and, like several women that I know of, who have all basically said the exact same thing. Yeah. Well, I got my babies out of it, right? I got my babies out of it, so that's all I need. As long as I got my babies out of it, you know what? It's all good. Now, when I hear that, things like that drive me. How can I put it? Insane. They drive me insane because you see, I can't wrap my head around the idea of how does having children make up for the impact of not having a significant other, a spouse by your side. Well, it's because I can love myself. I don't need somebody else to quote unquote love me. Okay? Self love is important. Yes. Yes. But it's also important that, you know, you hook up and you find that other person that shares your similar interests, somebody who you enjoy talking to, somebody that you enjoy being with. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not saying that, you know, it's a horrible thing to be on your own sometimes. Sometimes it is horrible. Other times it can be nice when you can just walk around and you can be you. and you don't have to put on a front for anybody. Now, see, if we took that attitude and we applied it to when we're around other people, think about how much better we'd be. Think about how happy you are when you're by yourself. Now, see, again, you don't have to, what's the word? You don't have to constantly be a human chatterbox all the time. You don't have to put on, you know, the funny clown makeup and clown shoes and, you know, perform a routine from the Three Stooges, to get somebody to be impressed by you. You really don't. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, but I don't like when people are silent and non-talkative because it makes the conversation boring or it makes the time boring. And I'm not advocating any kind of long-term prolonged silence. But why sit there and every 5 seconds jump in with an interjection? Why can't you just sit there and listen and be the ear that they need? Because maybe that ear turns into a shoulder that they may end up crying on one day. And they would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate the advocacy of the silence because they know that you're listening and they know that you care. And they learn to appreciate you more. And they're going to be more prone a lot of times to hanging out by your side and talking to you and wanting to spend their time with you because they know what kind of person you are. They know what kind of individual you are. They see what kind of person you are. They see the goodness inside. They know it's there. Now, you might say, well, that sounds like a fairy tale. Well, is it really a fairy tale? Or is it the nature of a man, of a person, who says, you know what? I don't care how you look. I really don't. I don't care how you look. I don't care what the world thinks about you. I don't care if the world likes the way you look or doesn't like the way you look. I'm not interested in what their opinion is of you because it's not about what their opinion of you is. Well, why would you want to? Why would you want to date her? She's a slut. She had 2 children out of wedlock. I'm aware. I'm aware. I'm very much aware. But does it seem to matter? No. Nope. Because you know what? I'm the one that's going to wake up every single solitary day next to her. Hook or by crook. I'll be the next one that'll be laying down next to her at nighttime at bed and waking up right next to that very same person in the morning and kissing her good morning. And as long as I promise to wake up every day and keep my end of the bargain, nothing else matters. Well, except the fact that she has to keep her end of the bargain, which is to do the very same thing. But other than that, nope. See, this is why after all my years, I've had to change my attitude about a lot of things because there were things that I would tell you would completely revolt me, and there'd be no way in hell, and I do mean no way in hell, that I would ever date a woman who was fat. It would never, ever happen. Not in a million years would it happen. And that completely all changed And it did. It completely all changed. And the reason that it all changed was because I ended up falling in love with a girl who was fat. Hard to believe. Dated 1 year and 500 days before she turned into a coward, but was very much in love with her. Very much in love with her. And I didn't have to be a goofball. And I didn't always have to be 100% serious. Although more times than not I was stone faced. I was pretty serious about certain specific things that I didn't waver on. But I didn't let anything else detract me from being who and what I am. See, I didn't have to be fake. Well, if you didn't have to be fake, well, why did she break it up? Well, that's a good question. And I can tell you that a lot of it had to do with her mother, and a lot of it had to do with her, just as a person in general. Yeah. But nevertheless, this is not about, you know, finger pointing and blaming and all that other stuff. This is about just being completely and honestly and truly you. Not caring what other people think. Because it's not about what they think, it's about what can be proven. What is what's actual fact. You know, you know, he or she seems a little on the immature side. Okay, I can see it. I can see the immaturity level. Sure, sure, I can see the immaturity level in some regards. There's a stubbornness sometimes, but again, are you willing to work through those and say, wait a minute, you know, are these really Are these really deal breakers? You know, are these real deal breakers? Like I knew a woman who was married for I don't know, quite some time, quite some time. And one day she just said, it's over. It's over. Now, I can only speculate that part of the quote unquote deal breaker was that for many years this guy had a major substance abuse problem. And I don't mean alcohol. And he developed problems. And it drove him, to see medical professionals. And I use that term you know, very loosely, but nevertheless, medical professionals. And he had just about enough of their constant, what's the word I'm looking for, blundering. He didn't see any real reason why he should continue to seek, these so-called medical professionals. And it might have caused a bit of a, what's the word? It might have caused a bit of a rift in the marriage. And the long story short was that they ended up, getting divorced. Now, see, I don't see that as a. I mean, I understand that your idea of getting healthier is by constantly, staying in the good graces of your local medical professional, right? We nip problems when they're in the bud. So if there's a problem with this, if there's a problem with that, then we just take good care of it and we move on. And a lot of times we tend to forget that, we also have to take into consideration that other people have feelings about specific things that they do not like, things that they fear. Like myself, you say, well, what do you fear? Hyperbaric oxygen therapy. There is something about it that I do not like. You know, I do not like 2 hours in an enclosure. There's just something about it that makes me paranoid. I get paranoid, very, very, very paranoid. And I cannot do a full 2 hour session of hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Even though they say it's good for you and, it'll help, but there's just something about 2 hours in the tube that don't sit right with me. And believe me, I've tried. I've tried to get through 2 hours and I can't do it. Could not do it. And then you have to go through it 30 times just to start. And that didn't sit well with me. See, I'm what you call a person that, is constantly on the move all the time. I'm always on the move. Can't sit still for 5. It'd be very lucky if I'd be able to sit through an hour of watching something on television. Now, some things might catch my attention, and I might be willing to endure the long hours of watching something on TV. Could be a movie, could be a TV show. Depends on the TV show. But I'm a person that's always got to be on the move. Got to be on the move. Got to go outside, got to do something. Don't care if it's even a short little trip. Just got to be something. Even when I was, confined to the hospital, as they say, can't be confined to the ward. You know, can't be confined to the ward. And I used to go down. I used to go down to the chapel by myself. I don't need no stinking babysitters. You know, don't need no stinking babysitter. I'll be back up. Don't lose your shirt. You'll be fine. Be nice to be able, to even do things where, you you hop in your little buggy and you go down to the cafeteria. You go down to the cafeteria and you get something to eat. Why? Because you're hungry. And they say, well, we don't want you to. We don't want you to get hurt. Okay, again, that's all fine and good. And I can see if, you're I can see if you're feeble and you're old and, you're not really you're not really of sound mind, then I could say, okay, all right, you have a point. You have a point. But if they're not feeble and they're, not of unsound mind, then what's the beef? You know what I mean? What would be the beef? Maybe somebody late at night says, you know what? I've got a craving for pudding. I'd like a nice butterscotch pudding. Let them go down and go grab a butterscotch pudding. If they want to sit out in the hall and they want to talk, let them sit out in the hall and talk. Know what I'm saying? Let them be them. Whatever whatever makes them comfortable. Let them do them. Maybe their nature is that they want to talk to people. They like talking to people. I remember sitting out in the hallway in the middle of the night talking to nurses who were from Africa. And we got talking about all the wild animals of Africa. lions and the snakes and the Nile crocodiles and, the rhinos and the baboons and, I mean, you name it, we talked about 'em. Cape Buffalo, the gazelle, the wild dogs, the hyenas. I learned one nurse says, as we were talking about snakes, he says, uh, uh, what was it? King Cobra, King Cobra, hooded up and stood. Well, I wouldn't say stand, but you know, the Cobra hooded up, King Cobra. He hooded up, and it was like he was looking you right dead in the face. It was like he was face to face with you. I thought, man, that's a pretty scary story, you know, staring face to face with a hooded king cobra. I told him my big fascination was with the crocodiles, you know, and I'm talking about the big boys, the 15 to 20 footers that roam the waterway. And after we were done talking, after we were all done, went back to the room and went to sleep. And it was a nice conversation. Another night, one of the techs came up because there was something wrong with one of the machines. And I knew where he was from. I could tell. Now, the reason I could tell is because I grew up with that. So I know very, very well. So of course I joked with him and I said, hit it with a hammer. Yeah, that'll get it to work. And of course, we started talking about, places that I've eaten at, places that are really, really, really good to eat at. And told them, what kind of what were some of my, well, I can't say some. It's by far my favorite food, I should say. It's my favorite food on the planet. Could eat it all day, all night, and would never get sick of it. Never. It's too damn good. Of course, I'm talking about Jamaican curry goat. And he says, "You're pure blood fire Rasta, man." Yeah, man. Of course, I'm pure blood fire. Because I eat cow foot, callaloo, jerk chicken, jerk pork, dumplings. You name the Jamaican food, I've eaten it. Jamaican meat patties, love meat patties, boy. Not the super spicy ones. No, no, no. No, the regulars. But I love, oh boy, do I love Jamaican food. But curry goat and ackee with saltfish, oh boy, that is so damn good. Could eat it all day long. And as I jokingly said to one individual, I said, just because I a white boy don't think I don't know what to be talking, man. He says, you know to talk. Yeah, man, know to talk. I grew up with it. I used to disappear and go eat dinner. They knew me. They invited me in for dinner. I'm like, yeah, I'll go eat. Love Jamaican food, boy. Oh, I became hooked on Jamaican food. But this is not a food thing. Again, this is about, you know, being you. You know, why do you have to change for other individuals when you can be who you are? That to me is what it's really all about. You know, being who you are and never changing for anybody else. You can be a little sweet, you can be a little sour. You don't have to like it, but it's not up to you. Not up to you. See, folks, just because they want to be plastic and fake doesn't mean that you have to be plastic and fake. You don't have to follow on their footsteps. And you don't have to follow on their footsteps. You really don't. You don't have to follow on their footsteps. So that's my point here today, folks. Be you. Be you. If you're going to change for yourself. Don't change because the world wants you to change. Change because you want the real you to come out. Not the fake, the real you. And when you do that, well, hey, people are going to flock to you. They're going to like you. Doesn't mean everybody, but they'll like you. So that's it, folks. It's the way it is.